Good afternoon and good morning, everyone. This is Rick Foke, Director of Product Management for Software House. And today we're pleased to introduce you to our latest Secure 9000 Rev version 2.9. Today we have Ashley Tusignat on the line here. She's our Senior Product Manager for the Secure 9000 platform. And we'll go through the latest features and benefits of 2.9. And we'll also be we'll be answering questions that you ask throughout the presentation, and we'll have some time afterwards for some more questions. So please don't be shy. This is a one-way presentation for the audio, so please enter your questions into the question box, and we'll get to those periodically through the presentation. We're also recording the presentation, and afterwards we'll be sending out that link along with the slide deck. So with that, I will turn it over to Ashley.
All right, thank you, Rick. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. Again, Ashley Tusignat, Senior PM for Secure 9000. This is our second and I believe last scheduled launch webinar for 2.9, but we will have the recordings available as well. So what we're going to cover today is a quick review of 2.8. Some of the functionality that we added in 2.8, which came out last August, plays well into where we're going and what we've added for 2.9. So I think it's important to cover a couple of those things. Then we're going to share with you some of the COVID response techniques that we've added. We had a whole separate webinar on that, so hopefully a lot of you were able to see that. If not, let us know. We can get you a link to that. And then we're going to jump right into everything new for 2.9. and a quick roadmap sneak peek and some general housekeeping items. All right, so let's take a look at 2.8. So 2.8, as you can see, was pretty feature packed. So we have one major rev per calendar year typically, and then several service packs that do have some features, which is great. But here we pretty much touched every core part of Secure, right? So starting with two-factor authentication support, we partnered with a company called Duo Security. They have a mobile push multi-factor authentication app, so you can use your existing credentials. We built it into the firmware for even legacy iStar controllers, so Ultra and Edge, but also Pro and EX as well. And it's completely versatile, so you can add this based on a schedule or based on certain doors, and once you have those licenses, you can swap them around as needed. Then in the core Secure admin side, we really focused on our security ops side. So we added tagging capabilities to the system, smart searches, new smart layouts. So we have a security view with automatic device to video mapping and an out-of-box or event assessment application layout to help process incoming alarms. And then on Secure Portal, we have this reception dashboard over here. So this is a way to completely manage the visitor lifecycle all from that one dashboard. So, gone are the days of having to be, heavily trained on Secure. You're able to just manage visitors coming on site, checking people in, creating new visits on the fly, assigning temporary credentials, all of that from that one dashboard. So convenient uptick there for visitor management. And then on the access management workflow side, we added the ability to, if you have a group of approvers, one of those approvers can be the person's direct manager. So that was added in 2.8 as well. And then down here in the corner is a little screenshot of the Secure Web Health Dashboard diagnostic screen. Basically, this is a living, breathing update of how your system's performing over the past 7 days running. So everything from door-forced alarms, door-held alarms, communication latency, CPU usage, all of that is available in this dashboard, and you can even toggle between different servers. So convenient little tool added there. And then I just wanted to cover a few of the service packs because we had quite a bit of features added after that core launch. So in 2.7 Service Pack 6, so this came out in April, we added the OSDP conversion for both Wiegand and RM readers. This tool allows you to be able to configure the RM or direct connect Wiegand readers to the OSDP protocol for iStar Ultra controllers. So that is also going to be available in 2.8 Service Pack 4, I believe, and 2.9 Service Pack 1. So stay tuned for that. And then we have a temporary credential assignment through an XML import. So you can use the Secure 9000 import engine to assign and reassign temporary credentials to existing personnel records or personnel profiles. This third one is an interesting one. iStar runaway input detection and shunting. You're going to see this available through several of the service packs we're going to cover. But really, this is a great tool to help with high volume inputs that are coming in. So think of, a skinned wire or vibrations from a large machine or a door that's not completely closing correctly. That's really giving you a lot of noise in your journal activity. So now if this passes a certain threshold, which you can define, it will log the message once in your journal, calling it a high activity input, and then it won't continue to log. So then you can go and investigate that one message later on. And then the last one is the contagion report, which you can see over here on the right-hand side. And I will be getting into this in a couple of minutes when we go over our contagion updates. And then 2.8 Service Pack 1 was in February. This was more closely aligned with our frictionless access control update. So we have Illustra Insight coming out shortly. And this was the first phase of that integration into Secure 9000. It was the storage of up to 5 high-res images in Secure. Obviously, this is benefiting the Illustra Insight, but keep in mind any of our third-party facial recognition providers could potentially use that as well for their integrations into Secure. We also added Secure Visit Verified Identity using Civic. So that was an integration for Secure Visitor Management that we launched in March. And that's just a way to safely determine the either visitors or contract workers coming on site without having to physically exchange either license or passport or store that information through a scanned copy at the customer site. So have more information on that too if you guys are looking for that. And then we had some additional UDF fields added for the kiosk, and journal volume management all came out in Service Pack 1 of 2.8. Okay, and then 2.8 Service Pack 2 just launched this past May. That was more focused around our iStar Edge G2. You're going to be seeing publication for that shortly. We're very excited to launch that. Our iStar Edge has been a solid performer for over a decade now, but there were certain components and, built on an older board that we needed to be able to update. This is going to give you the latest and greatest on cybersecurity and built on Linux. So I don't want to steal Rick and Greg's thunder, but stay tuned for that because we're very excited. Also, we included the iStar runaway input shunting and the contagion report. And then support for our all-in-one Go Reader. So that Go Reader is, if you're not familiar with it, is an option to have a portable access control reader for like either remote security or think of, mustering areas, emergency setups, random screenings, things like that. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the 4 items we wanted to highlight for the COVID response techniques. Obviously, this has been a very difficult year as people are either working remotely or just trying to get back into the workforce as buildings are opening up. So here are some tools that you have built in today into Secure that you could be, utilizing as you take that step forward. So the first one is the after hours enabling reader. So how this works is if you want employees to pass through one main screening area per day, you're able to set it up so that their credentials will only work at that one reader. Meaning if they try to, go to a side door or a different building, they won't be able to gain access until they go through that main screening area and either pass, a temperature check or a survey or something along those lines. And then it will automatically reset at, say, midnight for the following day. And then the clearance filters to quickly restrict access is another option, where if you need to restrict access in a building or put it into lockdown mode and you only want, essential personnel to have access, you can manually increase their clearance filter level so that they would be the only ones who can access that particular area. That's Secure Go Reader. So we do have a version available today, which you're seeing right here on the screen. The all-in-one unit will be launching probably by the end of September, I believe. But again, that's great for a quick pop-up health checkpoint or to verify a go, no-go decision based on clearances and clearance filter levels. And then lastly is that contagion report that we added for several of the service packs that you'll see over here in the corner. So in this case, you can run a report based on personnel name to figure out who may have been in close proximity with the person that you're running the report on. So in this case, we ran a quick search on Evan Hill. He had a positive contagion, so it could be COVID-19, or you could use it for any other reason where you want to see who may have come into contact with that person. And it will show the different areas, what readers he badged into, and then anybody who either went either 1 minute before or 15 minutes after, and that parameter is completely configurable, and it will give you those search results based on that. So those were some of the items. So Rick,
Ashley?
Yeah.
Yeah, just one reminder to the audience that we do have a full PowerPoint presentation on, it's about 15 to 20 various COVID response techniques that's on the software download section for Seeker 9000, along with that actual report that you can import into Secure, and there's some instructions on how to change those settings. That 15-minute and 1 minute timer before and after can be changed as well. So if you haven't done it yet, go to the software downloads page and get a copy of that toolkit.
Okay. Rick, do we want to pause and see if there's any questions that came in before we jump into 2.9?
We can pause, but it'll be a very short pause because we don't have any questions yet. So please,
don't be shy.
Please feel free to start typing. Give us some, you can give us some softball questions, some hard ones. We don't care. Let's get the conversation.
We don't discriminate.
Right.
All right. So let's jump into 2.9. That's why everybody's here. So 2.9 was heavily focused on our access-led video, or what we like to call our, our step in the direction of really getting into those enhanced video options built into Secure, right? So we added video search capabilities, analytics search capabilities, both built in, and we updated our SDK framework. So any of our third-party video partners can also utilize that as well and build in their own analytics. And a central clip repository too. And then we have the first look at our brand new web-based client. So this is pretty exciting. This is built all along the personnel administration side, but you'll see our roadmap for this and how, basically this is Secure 9000 completely redesigned. Everything that you're able to do in the thick client and more will be built into this new web-based client, as we progress towards the cloud and being able to support, future requests as we go. We also have Secure ID badging updates. We added the new HID Fargo HTTP 6600 printer with some updated encoding options. And we have QR code and GS1 barcode support added as well. And then for cyber, continually making cyber updates with every new rev that we have, but the iStar Edge G2 definitely is the front runner on the cyber side for that update. Okay, so when we talk about access-led unification, what we want to talk about here is, how can we make the video work for you if you're an avid Secure user and not necessarily, utilizing the unified system. How can you have the search capabilities more conveniently accessed from the Secure side, right? So in this particular use case, you might have an object left behind. How can you search, for the video analytics to see, potentially if you have a lot of footage, when that object was left, who was the person who left it, or maybe motion detection on a parking lot where you have a car that was abandoned. How long has it been there? Can we catch to see the person who had left it? Or, as people are getting back into the workforce, are there new rules and regulations? New analytics are going to be popping up all the time, right? So in this case, maybe, people need to follow mandates for mask wearing and things like that. So these are just some examples of where video is moving and how we're progressing with it. So when we talk about video alarm phases, we break that up into 3 main areas, starting with notification. So that's where you're tying in your video views, your video pop-ups for any incoming alarms. Then we move to the second phase, which is verification. This is where you're utilizing the tools. A lot of these became available to you in Secure 9000 2.8, where you have those smart layouts, and you also have that pre and post video recordings automatically set up for you. And then this third phase is, what we call investigation, and that's where you need to dig deeper, right? This is where we're going to be searching video beyond just date and time, and having that ability to take snapshots and clips and save them in one central location. And then we'll also take a look at the video analytics, both what we've built in to 2.9 and how our third-party partners can utilize the SDK and build in their own analytics. I know, based on the recorder, you're going to have different options. So this is going to be a pretty exciting year as people update to the 2.9 rev. And overall, this is just going to be a way to automate your alarm processing and save the team's valuable time. Okay, so when we look at video alarm notification, so our first phase here, this is when we pull in some of the initial layouts here, right? So if an incoming alarm comes in, right away you're going to have access to multiple options to help process this alarm. So you might have a CAD-based map or a GIS-based map. This is going to be live. You would have the blinking location. Say this is a campus. You can, immediately hone into the area that the alarm is coming from. Here, this is our Westford building. We were able to determine what floor it happened. It will pop up that particular map. And in this case, this was a door forced alarm. We were able to have that video easily accessible. So this was the person who had immediately walked through after the door forced alarm came in. Then we move on to our smart layouts. And again, this is a reminder, these did get added into our 2.8 version from last year, but over here is our security view layout. So this is where we took the top 80-20 rule into play. So all of the video views that you're seeing over here have been automatically populated for you based on setup cameras for your system. So all of this configuration time is saved for you as it automatically populates this information. And then if it's not the exact view or layout, you have a lot of options here to customize based on your preference. So there's different video views. You can toggle between live and recorded. You also have your list of discovered cameras on the system, and you're easily able to pull and drop in based on preference and then save that format going forward. So, some of the ways the system is able to configure this automatically for you is based on the tagging capabilities and search functionality that we built into 2.8. Another thing I just wanted to note is you'll see this take a snapshot and record screen. This is going to be prevalent in a lot of the screens that were added. And this, directly goes into play into our new clip management repository as well. So extending beyond the NVR. So over here on the right-hand side, we have our assess event application layout. So previously, this dashboard or layout didn't exist, right? So if you had to process an event coming into Secure, there was a lot of manual configuration that had to be done. So now with this layout, you have everything here needed based on the incoming alarm, right? So you could have relevant instructions. You could log your messages right in here. In this previous cause list, this is where you're going to have that pre and post video recording automatically set up for you. Again, similar features to Security View, you're able to toggle between live and recorded video and take snapshots and record screens. Other things that you can build in here is you would have, any maps that you want to link with incoming alarms or any standard operating procedures to help you process those events. Okay, so now with the video search capabilities that we brought in, so here's some examples that you'll have. So all the way down through color, you'll have out of the box in 2.9 if you run Video Edge, and a lot of those are also available for our exact recorders. Again, any of our third-party partners who update to 2.9 will have the ability to build in whatever analytics they support. So based on what recorder you're using, so in this case, I believe we were running Video Edge for a quick scan of our parking lot. We wanted to find, based on motion, when a vehicle came in. So in this particular case, in our results grid, I just wanted to point out, instead of having generic text naming conventions for the different clips that come in, or we actually show these thumbnails so that it's easy to scroll down and see, like, this was the first one that came up on the motion. Okay, here's the vehicle entering the parking lot. I really wanted to see the person who was in that vehicle, so you're easily able to scroll down and then catch a glimpse of, okay, this is the clip that I'm most interested in. And, surprise, it is the same person who had the door forced alarm earlier. Luckily, it is an employee, but we just wanted to be able to highlight that functionality. So again, we understand that the analytics are going to be changing, especially based on needs, things like COVID-19 or, other options that are going to be added in the future. So we really wanted to keep this framework open and be able to have our partners be able to utilize that and add in their own analytics. Another big point that I wanted to point out here is that we have a small, medium, and large licensing bucket based on your system size for any of our video integrations. This is a lot different than our competitors. Most of our competitors have a per camera license fee. So depending on how large your system is or how many cameras you have added, it can get pretty pricey. So this is a great way to be able to support video and not have a huge upcharge for it. Okay, and then for clip management, so in 2.8, we had that, initial take a snapshot or record screen available, but you were still restricted to the NVR and, typical NVR storage restrictions of 30-day, 60-day, 90-day threshold. So now by having this central repository, you can define your own expirations. There's better organization and naming convention abilities that you can add. We kept the framework pretty open. It's great if you have an enterprise system and you need to map to multiple client workstations. And also, privileges and journal and audit capabilities are all available and followed. So anybody who's accessing any of those clips, it's going to be journaling those messages as they come in. So Rick, this is, or actually maybe we can pause right after this one because I wanted to show the video evolution. So there is a lot going on here. What I wanted to highlight is, several years ago, we started off in the video basics side. So this is where you were able to, have basic video support in Secure 9000. So things like setting up cameras and recorders and viewing their statuses within Secure. Then we progressed over to the Access and Video Basics column in the middle here, where our video integration was more closely aligned. You might have that central reporting capability or one user interface. But again, what we've worked up to today is definitely more what you would put as Access and Video Advanced, right? So this is where you have your automatic device to video mapping, your smart layouts. This is where the clip management and built-in video analytics comes to play. So when we say access-led unification, now from Secure 9000, you are able to receive an incoming alarm, interpret it, trigger an action or sequence of actions, and then document accordingly that outcome. So again, for our Secure-based users, this is just built-in video usability features that are playing into our 2.9 roadmap here. So Rick, before we move on to some of the other items here, are there any video questions we want to cover?
You must have been crystal clear because we have no questions.
All right.
One point I'll make is that you said it's for Video Edge and Exact out of the gates. You can combine cameras from different manufacturers' NVRs onto the same video layout. They can all take part in that clip management feature. It is truly a consolidation of if you have a company that bought a different company and they have different video systems, Secure can be that glue to manage that video system as one central platform.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
all right,
okay.
So I'll just progress forward a couple of the other usability items that we added. So how many of you use your Google shortcuts? I use mine all the time. Hopefully you guys have Software House saved. But what we did was we utilized some empty space or underutilized space in the admin station. So here, this used to be our splash screen in the background. We added the ability to basically, by operator login, it will save your recent tabs or recent objects and have you be able to open them up more easily, right? And again, this is completely configurable. So if you want to add or remove tags, you can easily do that as well. So just a convenient little tool for people logging in. And then some of the other usability highlights is that journal volume management that we added into a earlier service pack and the high activity shunting. We also have the bulk set reader LCD messages. So, this way you can set up, a batch of readers all at once and configure the messaging instead of having to do one reader at a time. So save you more time. And then we have this record screen added for the help and about menu. Again, this is more just to assist any support calls. So if you're having an issue or something, it's an easy way to recreate and for our team to better understand what's happening. Okay, so now let's jump over to the web client. So here is the first look. Again, this is focused on the personal administration side. We have, everything from personnel management, assigning clearances, badging, and credentials, all available in this 2.9 Rev. But this is going to be all of Secure reimagined into this adaptive interface. We kept a lot of the key updates that we've had in the last Rev of Secure. So here you have a search bar up at the top that you'll find in the admin workstation. This filtering screen you're going to see is prevalent on every tab, so it will populate with the information available per screen. And it's completely adapted, down to a tablet type view. So I'm going to share a couple screens and then we're going to get into the live web client to give you a look at what that on some of the options in there. So again, here is the one of the personnel screens. So everything that you would have today in the admin client is available built into this web-based client. So, card number, clearances to assign access privileges to a personnel record, credentials for card access or temporary credentials, everything is going to be available in this new layout. Another thing I wanted to note, obviously the Secure portal has the full reception dashboard and there's a lot of tools built in there. But for somebody who needs quick access from the admin station or remote setup here, you would be able to do some limited functionality for visitor management support, things like, printing a quick badge or checking somebody in or out, assigning temporary credential, things like that. Okay, and here's a look at the personnel views. So here you can change the appearance of personnel screens, customizing the personnel editor to show different tabs or columns and fields. So everything over here in the personnel field side, you would literally be able to drag and drop over to either the header or personnel tabs, or swap in and out based on the need. So in this case, you could be assigning views based on the different secure personnel types. So for instance, a contractor, you might only want to have first name, last name, email address, and credentials. So you would easily be able to customize that particular view. Okay, and before we jump into the web client, I just wanted to highlight that you can also change the web views based on operator login. So this has changed quite a bit. So previous revs, to set up these views, you kind of had to be what we would say like an expert level at understanding the system privileges and settings. So now, and you didn't have any visual cues or feedback to know that what you were assigning, what that was going to look like to the user. So now I'm going to pop over to the web client just so that you can get a sneak peek of how easy it is to set up these different roles now. Oh, Rick, log me out.
Did you find that auto log off timer setting?
You know what? I didn't do it right before. I was like hoping it didn't log me out. That's okay. It got me in there quick. Again, so that filtering tab that I had mentioned, so in the personnel screen, I can search by name, partition name, personnel type. But if I switch to a different tab such as credentials, it's now going to give me the search parameters that I could look up for credentials specifically. So card status, is it expired or active, things like that. Other useful tools, if you want to change the language. So if you notice, I went to French and all of the, now I can't read them anymore. All of the tabs up at the top will change accordingly. So it's pretty easy to toggle back and forth. But what I wanted to show you here is in the web views. So we had mentioned that you have some limited capabilities for visitor management, right? So I wanted to take a look at reception. So in this case, I'm building the web view for somebody who would be managing reception, particularly visitor management items. So here we have these little toggle menus that will easily show you. So I could, turn everything on or turn everything off. Or in this case, I can go in and select each of the items that I want to include for that particular view. So in this case, anything that's grayed out, they won't have access to. Anything that turns blue, they will. So we're going to allow them to check in and check out visitors, print badges. I think they can assign and return temporary credentials. And what else are we going to give them? Maybe they can grace personnel as well. Once I save that view, I can go in here and they have a preview feature. So over here, you'll see a little blinking icon up at the top that lets me know I'm in the preview mode. And if you noticed, all of the other tabs, credentials, clearances, they all disappear because I'm now viewing that view that I've defined for reception, and I only have the functionality that I granted to that particular view. So in this case, when I right click, I only have the options. It really cleans up what I'm able to visibly see. So there's not a bunch of grayed out areas that I don't have access to. Again, completely customizable. I can go in if I forgot something, I can always go in and as the admin and change what I have access to there. Okay. All right, so you're not going to see this dashboard today, but this is a sneak peek at where we're going. So this first rev is, again, focused on personnel administration. In the next couple of revs, I'll give you a sneak peek of that in a minute, we'll be supporting, monitoring and events and reporting, and eventually hardware configuration will be the last phase. But this will be, Secure reimagined for the future, and everything that you can do in the thick client, you will be able to completely do in this web-based client as we progress forward. Okay, and some of these features might toggle between the different revs. These aren't set in stone yet, but obviously, day one for 2.9, this is all the items that we just added and covered. 2.9 Service Pack 1, or I actually think this might be Service Pack 2, is going to be, towards the end of the year or early January timeframe. This is going to have quite a bit of features, so it will be a service pack that's more feature rich than some of the others. And then obviously 3.0 will be our major rev coming into 2021, and that will cover a lot more of the items. So even like that health dashboard that we looked at in 2.8, all of those items are going to be added in. And then, this doesn't have a name assigned to it, but this is most likely version 3.1. All right, Rick, I'm afraid to ask, any web client questions?
No, we don't. I do see a few familiar names online. I can start naming off your names and calling you out to ask questions, but I'll
better be careful. We'll make you a panelist and you'll have to talk to us. No worries. Okay, so let's take a look at Secure ID badging. So we have support for that new HDP 6600 printer that launched for HID back in, I think, June or July of 2019. It's been a solid performer for them. With this rev, we are going to support the same functionality we have today in the HTTP 5000, but we're also including inline encoding for MyFair EV1 and EV2.
That's a big deal for a lot of universities as they move to an open type of smart card. You can do symmetric key, you can do diversified key, you can encode different data fields at the same time, and you can do batch printing now for those smart cards as well. So if you have some larger customers moving to that new type of smart card, please consider 2.9 and the new features we have in there.
Yep, absolutely. And then that QR code and GS1 barcode, those are completely configurable. You can add them in your badge design. That was definitely a frequently requested item, especially QR codes. I know a lot of people are looking for that. So you can print them right on a badge. Okay, we also had some updates for our Acuant scanners and SDK support. So back in January, we did have messaging go out to the field about Acuant's end of life for their Assure ID SDK. So, just to note, that was end of life by Acuant for this past June, but they are continuing to support it. As of last week, they said they're going to continue supporting it for the foreseeable future. They don't have an end of support date for that. They are looking for people, obviously, to migrate to Assure ID. But they'll continue to do some library updates and things like that for the existing SDK. So with Assure ID, we have better error handling and auto format detection, so you don't have to configure the different fields for either a license or a passport that's being put in. It's going to auto detect the format. We also are adding support for some new Gemalto scanners. These were well rated globally. We did have a couple of requests coming in from the EMEA team on the Gemalto scanner. So we have the QS1000 and the AT9000 added. I just also wanted to note that the Snapshell Passport, both the R2 and R3, all those scanners will continue to be compatible with the new Assure ID SDK, but there will be a licensing charge per hardware device as you migrate over to this new platform. And that's really just for them to be able to maintain the updated libraries and any bug fixes and items like that that will come in the future. Okay, so let's take a look at what's coming on the roadmap. So in 2.9 Service Pack 1, I think this is more probably going to be Service Pack 2, because I think we already have a few items listed for Service Pack 1, but this will be what you see available here is going to be added in the, say, January 2021 timeframe. So obviously a lot of features for the web-based client as we progress forward with that roadmap. We're also going to have custom input calibration. So now the system can automatically determine the input resistance for your supervised circuit and configure the door appropriately. So that will be added. And then the iStar Ultra for ACMs per GCM. That hardware update allows us to be able to have 32 hardwired readers added. So currently today you can have 16 hardwired, and then the rest can either be IP ACMs or wireless. So now you'll have up to 32. And then this also gives you more I/O. So those are some of the big updates for the early service packs of 2.9. And then our Illustra Insight, this is going to be coming out. We have a lot of launches coming up. Obviously, iStar Edge G2 is going to be out of the gate next. And then the Illustra Insight, you're going to see communication about that soon. This is our homegrown sister brand, right? So this is going to be completely developed by Tegra Security Products. And the integration is going to be owned internally as well. So this is going to be a fully embedded integration into Secure 9000, which we are tracking, I believe, late September right now. But with that, to note, we did have a recent biometric webinar, and, between the fingerprint readers or facial recognition readers, there's kind of a range of what we deem as, integration worthy. You can have, the database sync, or you can have enrollment embedded in Secure. In this particular case, this is done by our own development team. This is going to be completely built nicely into Secure, which is a great perk.
You have an announcement that just popped up, actually.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. Get rid of it, actually. Oops, sorry. Ah.
Your emails.
Yeah, it's okay. All right, so a couple of the other updates I wanted to cover. So we do have, we did note this in a marketing bulletin that came up recently, but SQL Express is now available for Series 8 of Secure 9000. So this is great for customers that are on the cusp, right? So you can expand to up to 128 readers and 5,000 inputs and outputs at no additional SQL Server costs. So you won't need to purchase standard or enterprise for that. So that's a great sales tool to have. We also have over here on the right-hand side, you'll see our new Wi-Fi color printer for visitor management. So this was added in the last couple of months. We've been on the hunt for other options for Wi-Fi printers. We had that QL820 that we've gotten so-so feedback on. A lot of people want color printed labels. So it was just a matter of being able to find a Wi-Fi capable printer that's label specific. So we have this one, and we do have a high-end one from Premier that will be launching in the next few months as well. So definitely some more options there. And then the Site Server 3 right here is a new, smaller footprint. So it directly replaces the existing Site Server 2. We just had some end-of-life components that we needed to update. So, this one, I think it's only around 11 inches wide, so it's basically half the size of the Site Server 2. So nice small footprint there. And then the other thing to note is the database and operating system support for 2.9. So there were a couple of items like the Windows 7 and Windows 8 and 2012 that were pulled back, and that was, obviously to be able to add in the 2019 support that was that we were looking to add. So just to note those items. Okay, and we'll stop here for questions, but I did want to make one note that has come up. So there are changes, obviously, between what we call our legacy web client and the new web-based client that you saw today. So if you are an existing web client user and you upgrade to 2.9, you actually will be able to use both the legacy and the new web-based client They're separate addresses, so you'll be able to access both of those. Obviously, we won't be building features into the legacy version because everything is going to be added into the new version that you just saw. But I just wanted to note that if there is, events or reporting capabilities that you use today, you'll be able to continue to use those if you upgrade. Okay.
So we do have a few questions.
Okay, great.
One is on training. Will there be a training class or session that shows how to implement these features on existing systems versus the standard type of training? And yes, the team is working on, in fact, there's a movement now to do like a recertification class for those that have, training on Secure, they want to just add the new features. Okay, in fact, as you've seen, most of our training has moved online, because of the current pandemic, and office restrictions and whatnot. We are starting to open it up a little bit in various sites, but if you look at the training webpage, you'll see a lot of modular types of classes now. If I just do reports, or I just do, the monitoring sections, it's kind of broken up into chunks, things. But yeah, one thing the team is working on is, that incremental type training just for different revs. Okay, the next question here is on the scanners. Will the Accurint SDK, the Gemalto scanner, filter the personnel based on the ID scan in the visitor management web portal, or just through the administration station?
No, so it is a CCID integration. It will continue to be, you'll need CCID to be able to run the Accurint scanning.
Which means you have to open up the administration workstation of Secure?
Yeah, I believe so. And you'll have to obviously have that license, right, that capability licensed.
Right. We have looked at in the past, to add that into the, the web interface, like the receptionist portal. So we'll take that back up with engineering and, see where it can, be squeezed into the roadmap. It's a traffic jam, by the way.
That's great. How many new features we want to add?
Yeah. Okay. Now that's it for questions.
Okay, great. Well, if you think of any, we do have a frequently asked questions document. We'll be updating that as more questions come in. Also, if before that training comes available, we do have a Learn video that was added that dives into each of the new features more closely, and we'll show you how to configure those. So if you go to our Learn website, you'll be able to access that as well.
Oh, great, thanks.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Good. Thank you, and stay tuned for the other launches. As Ashley mentioned, Edge T2, Lustre Insight keeps coming. Okay, thanks, everyone.
A lot of items.